Well, welcome to Paris, and thank you for bringing this fairy tale to a land where we need it. Well, we just discovered some incredible scenes from your movie, and we want to know more. So basically, how much can you tell us about your character, really, and maybe the pleasure about revisiting such a classic fairy tale as Sleeping Beauty?
Okay, I'll start.
You go for it.
I think it was both the greatest pleasure and an extreme challenge to have such an extraordinary original, and that we wanted to make sure we did justice to it and paid respect to all that was done before. I know with Maleficent, I loved her when I was a child. I was scared of her, but I loved her and I was fascinated by her, and so I just didn't want to do anything that would not be good enough for all the people that had responded to her over the years. And Sleeping Beauty?
Yes, let's hear
Sleeping Beauty was always my favorite princess. I felt like I identified with her the best just because pink was my favorite color, and she always wore the pink dress and had the long blonde hair, and I had the long blonde hair, so she was my princess, and so to get to play her was so amazing, and I was so excited. Obviously, I had watched the animated film so many times before, but I watched it right before we started filming just again because I wanted to make sure she has certain hand gestures that she does, and her posture is very specific, and I wanted to make sure that I kind of brought that to her because I'm such a fan, and so for all the fans that are fans of Sleeping Beauty, I wanted to make sure that I incorporated it for them. So.
Well, there's also, from what we saw this morning, some very intriguing relationship between really, and a new one, so to speak, between the two of you, the light and the darkness, and also a great chemistry. Could you tell us a bit about your relationship and how slowly but surely you built this on-screen chemistry?
Well, I think, and there are, of course, things we can't say. To explain everything about our relationship, because our relationship is very much the center of the film, and it's part of the mystery of the film. But the nice thing about it is that you do know so much more. This story, we've gone back and we understand how Maleficent became the way she is, and we meet for the first time when I am cursing her as a baby. And then it continues on in the years that follow, and how we affect each other's lives. And so I think it was a beautiful script written by Linda Wolverton, and the goal was not just to entertain children or to retell a story. The goal was to try to see if these deeper themes of really understanding who somebody was, not judging them by just what they seemed to be, maternal instincts, a certain sisterhood of friendship, a love of your country and your land and trying to protect it. So there are all these many themes, but at the heart of it is I can't say.
You can't say, yeah.
At the heart of it is something that you have to see the movie for. But I think it's beautiful. I think it's a beautiful film. It's hopefully fun and exciting and has all these things that will make the children love it. But at its core, it's also something that has deep meaning, which is what the parents want the kids to see.
Well, let's go into deeper meanings with your words, dear journalists. So who launched the first question here? Where's the mic? Here, please.
Hi, Mark Sego, Sci-Fi Magazine. It was absolutely stunning to see the first pictures this morning, so congratulations on both. What's the biggest challenge you actresses faced on this shoot? Because I think it was pretty tough.
I think for me it was doing so much green screen and special effects. I'd never experienced that before because we every time I had a hair change or a wardrobe change at all, I would have to go and we do these scans. So you stand on a turntable and they kind of turn you inch by inch, and you stand there stiff and you can't move at all. So then they screen your body, and that was just so. I'd never had to do that, and also just using your imagination in a way never before, because you're staring at nothing, but you have to just create it in your mind, a little fairy or whatever it's going to look like. You have to come up with it yourself.
What about you, Angelina? The challenges for you?
The challenge, I think, was just you can't play a character like this halfway at all. And so to embrace fully who she is. And, you know, I think the first time I had my horns on and my heels on and my thing, you know, and you're walking around with a staff and you're trying to, and her voice is so particular. And I studied a lot of British theater actresses and did some voice training for my own voice to kind of, because I'm not a theater actress, so to kind of, everything was bigger. But I had my first day, I knocked my horns on the trailer. I couldn't see properly with my contacts. I couldn't figure out how to work with my staff. You know, everything was a bit clunky, my cloaks. So everything about it just felt quite awkward. And then I scared my own children when they saw me. So it was there's a few things that had to be worked out. But then the fun of it is when you get it all together, you just have to take a deep breath and say, okay, if I'm having fun, then I hope the audience will have fun. So we'll do it together and just don't be shy and try to give it all you got. So.
You certainly didn't seem shy on screen. Question, where's the mic? Over there.
Bonjour, je voulais simplement savoir si le film original, le dessin animé, vous servait quand même de base ou justement vous avez voulu vous démarquer du dessin animé?
Well, I mean, did the original Disney film, I mean, was like a basis for you, or did you really try to get away from it, so to speak?
Equally both. The christening, for example, is something that's the center of our film. And the christening itself, we wanted to stay as true to as possible. So that was kind of our center point. What then led to the christening became a new discovery, but it had to lead to that particular christening. And what happens after would be the effect of that moment. So in trying to get that center right and accurate and true to it, everything else kind of did open up, but then we had to discover new things. I think the first time you and I had to see, I remember we were watching the fairies together. Yeah. And it was just so strange because as two girls who've watched this all our lives,
never together.
We're never together. And so the first time we actually had, where I wasn't attacking you, or we just kind of were hanging out in the same space and lounging and watching, it felt so strange. It felt like we were breaking some kind of rule of the Disney rules that Aurora and Maleficent should not be spending time together.
Question here, please.
Cette méchante a l'air également pleine de charme et assez heureuse de ce qu'elle fait. Comment l'actrice a-t-elle trouvé le matériau pour incarner cette méchante?
Well, you are, of course, quite mean, but very charming at the same time, and you seem to be reveling in your badness or meanness. As an actress, where did you go, deep inside or not, to find out the cruelty in you?
Oh my. I don't know if that's something I can admit to. There's a strange thing about playing the bad guy where it does allow a certain thing to come out, and I think we all have something in it. We all have wicked in us, and we all have something that we all find ourselves maybe on your way here in traffic and you were getting frustrated. You know, there's something that makes everybody at some point just wish they could and change things, and so there are many things that frustrate me or make me angry, and I think just pulling them all together and being able to laugh at it and be able to enjoy it and not make light of it, but she is but it's not like that kind of heavy drama where the drama, that things that you're angry about, weigh heavy and they're the very serious problems of the world. It's a nice light drama where you can just be really wicked and really irritable, and it's in fact a great deal of fun. I suggest everyone try it once.
Question là-bas.
Bonjour. J'avais une question par rapport à vos enfants. Vous avez dit que la première fois qu'ils vous ont vu dans le costume, ils ont été effrayés. Comment est-ce que vous avez abordé le rôle? Vous leur en avez parlé et qu'est-ce que vous leur avez montré de tout ça?
Well, you just mentioned earlier that the first time your kids saw you, actually they were kind of scared. I mean, how did you sort of tell them about the character? What did you show them to make them sort of less scared, so to speak?
I brought them over to Elle. I introduced them to Sleeping Beauty and Prince Charming and all the nice people. I did. But so they actually had to watch the prosthetics come on and off. I had a nose piece and pointy cheeks and pointy ears, and and Fangs at the back. And so I had them come in and just watch all the pieces come off, and so they understood. But they really didn't like it. I mean, the littlest ones did. They thought it was fun, but Pax in particular was not okay with her at all. So it's tough. It's tough to see your mother that way. For a child, it's quite horrific.
Question là-bas.
Yes, hi. Cecilia for Watch TV. What were your favorite bad Disney characters when you were a kid? Both of you, please.
The favorite villains?
Or characters.
My favorite was Cruella de Vil.
How dare you?
Is that yours?
This is why you deserve punishment.
What about you?
Maleficent.
She was actually...
Yeah, she was my favorite.
Why? What did you pick on her that you liked?
I found her... I mean, I found her very elegant and very, very strong. Yeah. And she scared me. There was something about her that was just so completely sure of her. And maybe it was the reveling in the evil that was just, she had something, you couldn't quite figure her out. You couldn't quite understand. You couldn't be comfortable with her.
Question. Oui, le micro, pardon.
Oui, bonjour, Marc Choquet, Chérie FM, et bravo pour les premières images qu'on a vues ce matin. Pour ce film, Angelina, vous êtes à la fois productrice déléguée et actrice. Qu'est-ce que ça a eu de plus difficile ou de différent dans ce projet?
Well, congratulations first on what we saw this morning. I mean, Angelina, you're both here, obviously, an actress, but also executive producer. What did it bring to the film, so to speak, or how differently did you have to see that film from both perspectives?
To be honest, it wasn't very different. I think in any film you're part of, you try to participate in all levels as much as they let you, and you try to be a part of solutions for every different team and what's going on, whether it be sound or the stunts or the... so this just by nature, I think it just happened organically, and that I had to be more involved in making sure the pieces were right, and so just did a little bit more work, but the same kind of work I would do with or without title in any film, in fact.
Micro ici.
Ma question, est-ce qu'elle est vraiment méchante ou est-ce qu'en fin de compte, elle ne défend pas un monde qui est condamné à disparaître par les hommes?
Well, is your character really, truly mean, cruel, or is she trying really to stand up and to defend a territory that is being aggressed by human beings? I see your smile. You like that question.
Yes. Yes, she is. I think you will find that there's a lot more to her than this idea. Is she even evil? She does evil things. She gets in a point in her life where, because of what happens to her, the circumstances in her life, she becomes somebody who is full of hate and becomes a vengeful, horrible, hateful person and takes it out on an innocent child. She loses her humanity. But when she's little, she does have a very strong sense of, she protects the land, and she's is quite decent, I think, in many ways. And in some ways, it's a story about somebody who has a lot of good and has a lot of goodwill, who is tested and abused, and then loses their humanity. And maybe part of the question is, can she help me find it? And do I have it?
Question ici.
Hello, I'm Stephanie from France 5. It's a question for Angelina. Hello.
Oh, hello.
How do you explain that witches or villains in movie industry in general are becoming more sexy, more attractive, more acceptable, and finally to become the heroine of the movie?
Well, she's not, I don't know if I'm the heroine of the film, but she does, Maleficent herself, and from the original, was always, I think, quite elegant, and she was sexy in a way, in a strange way, she's sexy.
Not as acceptable like this.
But not as acceptable. No, I don't know. I mean, I think that's an interesting question for women and roles for women and women in power, and being able to show all sides of what it is to be a woman, and that I think sometimes that in in a very superficial way to be able to show this kind of darker, wicked side. But I think for a character like Maleficent, she has many different facets of her that explain woman, and I think it's nice. I don't think there's. I suppose it is new. It doesn't feel new to me, but I suppose it is to have more. Yeah.
Question.
Hello, I'm Evelyn from Belgium. Sorry, Elle, I have another question for Angelina.
Elle's going to answer it, and so it's
exactly.
If I'm not mistaken, you also play this movie with your daughter. She plays a young Aurora. Could you tell us something about how it was to shoot this movie together with her and how she did it, in fact?
She was very excited. She's very excited you're here.
Oh, yeah.
She's upstairs. She's looking for
you. She's here too?
Mm-hmm. It came naturally because we didn't want her to be in a film. Don't want to push our children to be actors, but there were a few little kids that came to set, and every time they saw me, they'd scream. And one little boy said, "Mommy, tell the mean witch to stop talking to me." So they really were. We couldn't really cast somebody who would be loving towards a monster. But Vivian is that little girl that kind of clings to her mom no matter what I'm doing, and so she was unfazed by me being very mean. And even my character says to her, "I don't like children. Go away." And she just smiles and thinks that's great. So who else could have done that? She was great. It was really funny, but it's hard work. You know, kids, like all kids, they don't want to be told what to do. They like the idea of being a princess, and they like working with mommy, but when they have to do it more than once and hit their mark and, whatever it may be, so it was a little bit of work. So Daddy and I were there that day kind of being coaches, and it was hard. It was hard work.
Question.
Oui, parmi les quelques phrases qu'on a entendues dans les extraits qu'on a vus ce matin, il y a celle-là que vous prononcez: le mal existe, la haine et la vengeance. Est-ce que c'est une constatation de ce type qui vous engageait à faire ce film et peut-être même à faire les films que vous faites?
Well, there's a saying in the extract we saw that says, well, basically evil exists, hatred exists, vengeance exists. Is it one of the reasons why you were also attracted to some of the subterranean themes of Maleficent? And is it also why, in general, you fight the fights you do?
Oh, well, that's a heavier question. Yes, sadly, there is, of course, real evil in the world. And, you watch the news and you see all of the people suffering and so much cruelty. And it's unthinkable cruelty, like those girls that were kidnapped in Nigeria, unthinkable cruelty and evil. This film wasn't to explore that in any way, that kind of evil or how it relates to the film, but I do think that it is something for all of us to really, in a very heavy, deep way, for all of us to understand why it's there, and to, in turn, we try to make films like this that have something, it was part of the pleasure of doing something Disney, something that had something loving and something that had a good message and something positive, because there is so much darkness and our children deal with so much, and our world is full of so much pain and real darkness, real evil.
Question?
Hi, I'm Sylvia for Disney Channel France. The question is to both of you. What was the most exciting things to do on the set of Maleficent?
Yeah, so it was the most exciting.
Yeah. I think for me, I was really looking forward to the spindle scene, just because when I look at the film, like the animated that part, Maleficent didn't scare me as much as the part when Aurora switched out of her girly self and went into that trance, and then you see kind of the green and the purple colors of Maleficent, and the lighting changes. So I was very I wanted to be really specific about that one moment, and so you get to see when Maleficent and the curse takes over her body, and it's just leading her to find a spindle, and so that we did that scene. It was it was my last day of filming for me on set. And yeah, it was very exciting when we had the green lights, but it was also really tough because the spindle was so thin. It was so tiny, and they had lights underneath the spindle. So my eyes, because I wasn't blinking, so I had to look at the spindle, but sometimes you go cross-eyed because of that, and so yeah. So sometimes I thought like, oh, this is so perfect, my fingers like going right down on the spindle, and no, I wouldn't hit it. I'd just go like straight past it, and we'd have to keep doing it again and again. So there was definitely a challenge to that as well. Yeah,
you gotta get somebody, please pull
yeah,
those
my
dailies.
eyes are like this, and
you did a great stunt fall.
Yeah, like, yeah, slow motion.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
What about the scene that was maybe the most challenging for you?
The most challenging was the christening. Because it had been done before perfectly, and it's that moment. I was so frightened, but decided again just to try to have as much fun as I possibly could, which is all you can do.
And you certainly give that impression, definitely. Question, please, over there.
Hello, this is a question for both of you. This movie seems to have a double pattern in all recent Disney movies, and I would like your opinion about it. First is really girl power. Male heroes and Prince Charming become like extended cameos in recent Disney movies. And the second is Disney trying to redeem their villains. Here, Maleficent becomes like a Shakespearean tragic figure. And I would like your opinion, both of you, on these 2 points. Thank you.
All right, so two dimensions to the Disney new movies. I mean, girl power as opposed to Prince Charming power, and also obviously Shakespearean tragic figure. But a way to redeeming your character. You like that, huh?
I like that.
So, Elle, what do you think about this sort of girl empowerment in the Disney world?
Yeah, I think it's really nice. It's kind of like Frozen. It's more about sister love than, romantic love. It's cool. And yeah, definitely, I mean, we have a little bit of both in our film, because I definitely experienced that. Aurora, her experiences that love at first sight with the prince, but there's also kind of a bigger love as well. So yeah, it's cool that they're doing that, and you don't need to have the guy in it. You don't need to have that type of love. So it's neat.
And the Shakespearean touch to your character, or to Disney characters in general?
Yeah, well, I think it's nice to use these stories that we are familiar with to try to, touch on deeper themes, bigger themes, and I think it's not, the nice thing that Linda did is I remain a villain, but there just may be more to her that makes it. Maybe it's not so easy, it's not so black and white what someone is. So I think it's but I think it's an interesting message for children, to kind of understand, and because kids are drawn to dark things, they're drawn to things that either scare them or something that we sometimes think it's too heavy, they can't understand that, but they do. It means something to them. I know my children, when the father dies in Lion King, it really affects them, but it's good for them to think those heavy thoughts and wonder how they'd feel, and so I think going deeper into all these themes and getting a little Shakespearean is a really great thing for children. I think our children are proving to us that they can handle much more with stories.
Yeah, it's very cathartic in a way. Question here, please.
Bonjour. Alors moi, c'est une question d'abord pour les deux. Qu'est-ce que ça vous fait d'interpréter des personnages Disney aussi emblématiques et aussi connus du grand public? Est-ce que c'était aussi quelque chose auquel vous aviez pensé, ou peut-être même rêvé? Et pour elle en particulier, qu'est-ce que ça fait de devenir une princesse Disney?
Well, the question for both of you, I mean, how really did it feel to really flesh out iconic Disney characters who, on top of it, are known by everybody worldwide? Was that pressure, pleasure?
It was a little bit. I felt like more, for myself, I'm like, because when I was little, like when people ask me, like, what do you want to be when you grow up, I would say a Disney princess, like always, like that's the, your dream. So, and for me to kind of be able to say that I got to do that is like so exciting. So, yeah, I wanted to make it, I make her like the best version of her I could, I guess. yeah, like really particular about like, you know, just like the costumes and like the way she looks and stuff. And so yeah, it was very exciting for me. I got to kind of fulfill my dream.
She's perfect. She was born. You were born to play Sleeping Beauty.
But you, how did you feel to represent that iconic character?
I know people keep saying that's like you were born to play Sleeping Beauty, and then people say to me, "Were you insulted when they said you were perfect for Maleficent?" Was it slightly insulting? I the same. I mean, I loved her. And then when I read the script, I felt like I'd stumbled upon a secret truth and a deeper story, and I really connected to her, and I really wanted to play her, not just for the fun of doing it, but because I really thought it was a great story, great film, and I actually immediately took my kids around. I told them, I have a secret. I want to tell you something about what really happened, and saw how they reacted, and so that told me a lot. So for me, the most exciting thing is that my kids are so excited right now.
In fact, I think you answered the second part of the question, because the second part of the question was for you, Ellen. It was like, how does it feel really to finally be a Disney princess? And I think you just answered it. So now you're all in your glory as a princess, right?
Yeah. I have, you know, they placed the crown on my head, you know, in the movie. So yeah. It's officially happened, I guess.
Question, please, and we'll have 2 more questions only. Yes.
Bonjour, une question pour Angelina Jolie. Vous semblez en tant qu'actrice faire des rôles qui vous amusent beaucoup et en tant que réalisatrice des films au sujet un peu plus grave, un peu plus sérieux. Est-ce le cas ou est-ce calculé ou pas du tout?
It seems that as an actress, the roles you take are quite fun to do, yet as a director, on the contrary, you tackle quite somber issues. Is that something that you consciously or unconsciously balance out?
Oh, it's an interesting question. My passion is history and global affairs, and so when I get to make a choice of what I want to spend 2 years of my life focusing on, I want to take on something where I can learn more and become a better person and kind of come out of it more aware, and so it's a very different decision, and whereas acting, sometimes you just simply don't get offered those kind of films. You like them, and if they come your way, you try to do them, but you kind of... It's interesting, the last thing I did is a World War II film, and I've always, like most people, wanted to understand, fascinated with that time in history and how it relates to today and who we are today, but as a woman, could never be a soldier in a World War II movie. But I can direct one, and I can take that journey now, and I learned a lot.
Dernière question, last question here.
Shanna Delacroix from M6. You've got a very impressive flying scene and fighting scene. How did you get prepared physically for this?
Oh, I love that kind of stuff. I mean, you've known me for a while. Anything, you stick me on a rig or fly me around on something, I do get really happy. I'm a big kid at heart, you know. I like that stuff. So it was a real pleasure. And the idea of flying, it's what we all, I'm sure, dream about, you know, the idea of what it would be like if you could have wings and fly, and the ultimate freedom.
The Icarus dream. Well, thank you very much for being with us today. Thank you all for being with us.
Thank you very much.